this is Cindy. I'm the Tireless Tangler, and you've arrived at day 57 of the 100 Days of Zentangle Project 2020. Thank you all so much for being with me today. Our tangle is going to be Flowervine. It is by Susan Pundt, and it has been around a long time. I learned this. This is also one of the first ones that I learned back in the day. I think that maybe it's not as popular because the step out on Zentangle Patterns is a little bit hard to figure out. But that said, it's really fun. It features a vine weaving through in and out of these little flower petals. And so let me show you what we're going to do today. Get your colored pencils or pens or whatever you want to use on this, as I'm going to show you some fun with color today. We are going to create a Zia. And let me first step out the pattern for you. Okay. I'm going to be using this piece of tan cardstock to step this out on. And I'm going to be using my number 505 in dark green that I got with my Project Pack 9 from Zentangle. You do not have to do this. You can use whatever colors or no colors as you like. Now, you do not have to do this first step, but I like to start with a straight line or a wavy line down the center. This helps me to line up my little flower shapes. So let me show you how this goes. We are going to, where's my example? Seriously. Oh, it's right here. Okay, so we're going to be placing these little petal shapes, these little rice shapes first, okay? And what we're gonna have to do is when we draw each of these, we're gonna leave space to work in another one behind here, okay? And so we're gonna want each of these shapes and the gap to be about the same size, all right? It's not the end of the world if you get bigger or smaller, but you'll have a more pleasing result. So I'm just gonna start like I do with Crescent Moon. You don't have to do it this way, you can do it your own way. Then I'm gonna judge about how wide this is, and I'm gonna put another one. Okay, then I'm going to judge about how wide this is. And another one. Sort of like you're starting Crescent Moon. And I think I'll leave room there. All right, now I'm going to turn my tile over and I'm going to finish these little rice shapes. The reason I'm handling it in this way is because well, if I can do it right, I'm making the same stroke this way as I was the other direction when I did it right. And of course, when you do the stroke the same way, you're more likely to get a similar result, okay? So now, whichever end you want to start with on the top, we're going to draw an S shape that is going to start sort of up towards the top-ish area, more towards the middle maybe. And then we're going to pretend we're coming out over here. Here's your S shape, like this. Okay? Let's do another one. We're going to start where this line would seem to come out. S shape. Okay? Again, S shape. Now, little note of caution, you don't want your S shape to be too narrow here. In other words, you want to pull it out just a little bit so that you've got room to work with an aura here. So this is getting low down, so I need to be careful on this. And move that back up a little bit, okay? Now what we're going to do is we're going to aura this line, all right? Now for me, and I so should have done that the other way. Now, the more careful you are with your auras, the better results you'll have, of course. As we have learned over and over this year on this project, careful auras win. Hurried auras get sloppy. Now this one, it's a little ambivalent, so I'm going to move down here on the bottom. Whatever you do, you want it to be consistent. Okay? So this is your thing, and you're going to want to plan, or at least think about how you want this to move through. If you can see, it looks like this moves in one continuous line, hopefully, down through the end. Okay, now we're going to draw behind in hollabah fashion these little rice shapes in between, all right? And so this is how that's going to go. You're going to start at the tip of one. Let me zoom in just a little bit. Start at the tip of one. We're going to go to the tip of the other. And if we come into this vine, and we will, we're going to go behind that, okay? Like this. This is something else you want to be very careful with and take your time. Sloppy lines coming in and out of these are going to matter, okay? Let's do another one. And with a larger nib pen as I'm using, that can also be problematic if you're not really careful. Lifting and setting your pen down. And you see why that little line down the middle is so handy. Otherwise, my little seed shapes get all over the place. All right. Now what we're going to do is we're going to add in these little flower petal shapes going vertically or horizontally, okay? So at each juncture where these little petal shapes come together, we're going to add 2 more petals. One will go behind and one will go in front. And this is the reason why you don't want your S curve to be too close in, because drawing this behind if it's too close in gets really kind of difficult. So that's just my tip for you. You may do as you wish. Okay. So this is why you want these S shapes to have a little room as you come around, but this is still going to be fine. Okay? Just take your time with this step. Try to start and stop cleanly. Now the way I handle the little marks on this, on the middle, on these little ones that go down the center, is I put a dot in the middle and a line up from each side because they're actually members of both flower sets. So it's just my way. You can do as you wish, of course. You can make these long or short, these little petals. You can make them pointy. You just want to keep in mind that you want them to be similar to the ones down the center. I wonder if this would work with rounder. Something to play with. Anyway. So you can put in your little leaf thingies whenever you want to. Just like this. And you continue down. Until they're all finished. Okay, so this is my step out. Just finish this up really quickly and not take my time like I told you to. Okay. So not hard, but it definitely takes practice. So you guys that tend to put things on your tile first and try them later, you might want to practice this first. It took me a bit of time to get this sorted. Okay. Something like this. All right. Let me hold it just so you can see it better. Now, of course, this makes an amazing border pattern. It's really pretty. And so let's see what we can do to make this sort of pop. The first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to use my apple green Inktense, Derwent Inktense pencil. I'm also going to use my Sherbet lemon pencil. I want to give this a green sheen. So I'm going to put, let's see, I think I'll do the element slanted here across my tile. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and I'm using this literally on the side, okay, on the side of the pencil, and I'm going to give a good, and you can do this with watercolor pencils, again, keeping in mind that these dry permanently. If you use other water-based media like watercolor or watercolor pencils, then any wet media you put on top of that is going to be affected, okay? So just keep in mind, if you've got some ink tints and you haven't used them, then you probably have these two colors in your set, the Sherbet lemon and the apple green. They're pretty standard colors. Now I'm going to go ahead and extend this most of the way out. Okay, and I'm going to go in with my apple green, and I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm going to leave this in the middle section so that I can get a sort of gradient coming out of this. I love these pencils. You just don't get vibrant colors like this with anything else. And when I think about those new colored pencils I am dying to try out of Geneva, but I still can't get the name right, I'm thinking I'd rather have a larger set of ink tints because I use them constantly. All right. And I'm going to use my felt green, or field green, sorry. Right down the center. This has a flat top, so I am just putting this on instead of using the side. I'm putting it on with the front, with the tip, because the tip is all flat like that, so I don't think it'll matter. So what I'm going to get is a gradient where the middle line, the ribbon line, if you will, is deeper, more vibrant green, and then the rest of these colors are going to sort of fade out on the sides. Oops. And ended up a little bit streaky, but I think it'll be fine. All right. Now, let's wet this down and blend it up and see where we're at. All right, I'm going to be using a good bit of water on this, so I'm just going to put this light napkin down behind it and get some water going. I believe on this I'm going to start with the center section, so I'm going to go light to, or dark to light. This is a beautiful green blend. And I am squeezing water out as I move the aqua brush. I am squeezing water out. You want lots and lots of water. Now when I get the end of this middle section, when I've done some blending in here and I'm fairly happy with the way that looks, I'm going to wipe my brush off and then I'm going to move to the apple green section. Look how gorgeous that is. I am still squeezing just a tiny bit of water with my brush. These colors are so gorgeous. Now I'm going to go around the edges. Remember, your Inktense colors are going to be movable. The pigment, the color on them will move until it's dry. Then you've got to think of something else. Once it's dry, and it's on there for permanent, which is good because that's what I want. Again, just squeezing water and gently brushing across these. The Sherbet lemon is just so bright and vibrant. I love using it. One of these days I'll get my sienna gold out, show you how gorgeous that is. If you've got that pencil, you should try it out. It's gorgeous. All right, let's see how we did on this. And I'm going to dry this quickly with my hair dryer, and I'll see you in just a moment. This is what I'm going to use today for my tile, okay? I'd kind of like to go back in here, and I still can if I wanted to, go back in here with some apple green and really green this, yellow it up a little bit, but I like this where it is. And we're going to be drawing over it, so I don't think anybody's going to care. I am going to attempt to use these two pens. This is a kind of these again came with my project pack 9 from Zentangle. It's a dark green, and this is a more spring green. The standard green that you get in the colors with, when you get the color set, this is the standard green. It's much more blue green. The spring green is what I want for this, okay? So what I'm going to do though, is I'm going to mix colors like this. Purple and green are complementary colors, so that should work. I'm going to put my very light diagonal line, and this line does not have to be straight. You can absolutely curve it. It just makes it a little bit more complex. All right, let's see where we're at here. I'm using my purple 01 micron here, and I'm going to use that for the flower shapes, okay? Then I'm going to use a light green for my little vine shape, and we'll see how that goes. All right. I'm going to start with my little half ovals, whoops, ladybug shapes, being sure to leave some room in between and not too much. We don't want them to be too big in there. Just do the best you can guesstimating that. Do I want one more? Sure. Okay, now turn your tile upside down or 180 degrees and do the exact same stroke, taking your time to meet up your corners. You know, when I give you guys advice, I'm usually telling myself the advice, and the reason I'm bringing it up is because I feel like it has some application to me. So I'm not preaching to you guys. I'm just helping you survive. That's where we're at. All right, so here's where we're at, okay? Now I need to switch my pen, and I'm going to take my, well, we'll see how it is. I'm going to take my light green, my spring green, 05, and I'm going to start my vine, and we'll see if this will show up well. If it doesn't, I'll use a different green, okay? Oh yeah, I think that shows up just fine. Now, you want to come in towards the middle-ish top, okay? And go out, leave yourself a little space. Make that S curve again, come in towards the top-ish middle, okay? If you get it too high or too low, you have problems with your aura, so you really want to stick these right in the middle if you possibly can. That was a pretty good one right there, okay? Just a nice S, just keeping in mind that you want to leave room around the little rice shapes. Doesn't have to be a lot, just a little bit. Okay. Now, when you add your next aura, which is the next step, and we're going to aura this vine line, you're going to want to figure out whether you want to put that aura on this side or this side, okay? So if we put it on this side, following that through, it would come here, which wouldn't be a problem. I'd have to bring this around and tuck it in here, which will be tight. Okay, so if I continued that, that would probably be tight, tight. So I think what I want to do is come to the outside up here and the inside down here, okay? So that's what I'm going to do. Just give it some thought depending on how you are set up, okay? Let me turn this to the side. I think everybody will be happier. So here's where we are next. Now, I'm going to switch back and grab my purple pen, which kind of looks black here, but that's okay. And I'm going to fill in, ooh, I left a long one there, didn't I? I'm going to fill in each of these seed shapes or rice shapes, carefully working behind my green lines for the vine. Right? This pattern really has two elemental strokes. It has that open C shape that we make the rice shapes with. It has an S shape, and that's it. So essentially, it's all how you put them together. All right, this is going to be a big one. There. Okay. Now, all I have to do is add my petals going the other direction. And I'm going to try to be careful and make these about the same size. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and finish these before I do any embellishing on those. It can be very forgiving if your loops are the wrong size. So here's what we've got now. It's pretty, but it needs some more. So I'm going to add in my little petal things. And I can do this if I want. Instead of one line, I'm going to put 3. And that's just me. I'm still going to do my dot in the middle. Those middle ones are going to look more like garlic clove than a leaf, huh? Or a petal. Like that. I'm putting just a tiny bit of line weight on the inside of my S-curves with my regular 01 in green, the regular one. It's a little bit darker than the spring green, and so I'm using that to just put a little bit of weight, a little bit more darkness on the insides of these S-curves. Not doing this all the way around, just a little bit on the insides here. It will enhance the sort of overlapping quality that it's got. All right, so I like that a bit better. I feel like the vine is sort of obscured by the flowers, so what I want to do is sort of darken that. So what I'm going to do is switch to a colored pencil. Now, I had intended to start using some of my polychromos when we did these, but I feel like today, because of what we're doing, I want to use Prismacolor, because because Prismacolors are opaque, and I'm planning on using different colors in here, then I want to be able to cover my background if that's what I want to do. Okay, if that makes sense. All right, so now I'm going to use my Peacock, and I'm just going to, do I really want to go that far? I can't decide. I'm going to start by using the Peacock Green to shade the vines where they look like they go beneath or behind. I can use my graphite pencil here if I like, that works too. But again, when I work in color, I really prefer to do my shading with a colored pencil so that I'm not stuck with a grayed out area on here. Now sometimes that gray works to great effect here, and I may use some for shading after we're done with the color part. But I like the major work to be done with a colored pencil. So I'm coming over the top here with my spring green. And I'm just going to fill in this vine, make it show up a little bit more. I'm just going to ignore that peacock right there. Okay, now I'm going to put in the color I'm going to use on my flower petals, and we'll see if purple will work. That's what I really want to do. And again, the reason I'm using my Prismacolors is because it will cover the background. This is Parma Violet from the Prismacolor line, and I'm going to try putting this down a little bit right here by the base, and then we will try to blend it out and see what we've got. I think I will do this one as a test run and use my blending solution and see where we're at. Where's my teeny tiny tortillon? I only want to bring my color up just a little part way. I really like how that Parma Violet works on here, so I'm going to continue that on up. Again, I'm just putting a little bit in soft round circles right next to the base. And this will work with other pencil types. It's just you may not get as good coverage as you do with a Prismacolor, but again, that doesn't mean the others aren't effective, and I haven't tried everything, so I really can't say about everything. So now that I've got my color laid down, I'm going to carefully take my little paper stump, the little narrow paper stump I have, And I'm going to carefully blend some of this up, but I am not, I repeat, not trying to cover the whole petal. I want the end the way it is because I'm going to use a white Prismacolor on the tips of these to sort of brighten the whole thing. The only thing I don't like about using the green color for the vine, not that that's not the appropriate color for the vine, but that I feel like we're losing some definition where it comes over the leaves. So I'm sitting here wondering, I can probably do this with shading. And so I think before I put my white Prismacolor on and dot some color in the center of these, I think I'm going to use my black Verithin Oh, I never blended this out, did I? Let's see if I can do that. When you're working on creating a Zentangle Inspired Art piece like this, where you have used multiple medias and different things, it takes time. It's a layering process. You go back and forth with colors, with pens, and you just layer. Now I've got my black Verithin right here, and I'm going through each place where I had shaded with colored pencil, and I'm going to deepen the color just a little bit on the edges of this vine and where they disappear in and out. Just to give the edges a little definition. I think next time I try this, I will probably draw in black and then embellish. I feel like the green is so light that we lose the overlapping quality here. And I can still come in with my dark inking pen and go over this if I like. And we may get to that point. We'll see how this works. That does help some, for sure. Now, once you've been over this in several runs or in several passes as you go around, you will have worked the tooth of your paper, the surface of your paper, quite vigorously by now. You've gone over it with Inktense wash, you've gone over it with pen, you've now added colored pencil and blending solution, and now we're adding more pencil to that. So the tooth of the paper is going to get worn really quickly in this process. So you want to be as gentle as possible and save the real intense stuff for the end when you're tidying. Let's see. Well, it does help some. I'm still not just real thrilled with my outcome, but I'm going to keep working it. As you guys have seen over the last few days, my end result is ending up quite a bit different than where I'm leaving it in the video. And it's because I get it out and I just rework the whole thing. I think about what I can do to make it more dynamic. I'm really focused on my thumbnails now. I'd love some feedback from you guys about what you think about them, whether or not they're worthwhile, or if I should go a different direction. It'd mean a lot to me if I knew your opinions about that. Okay. So I don't hate this, and it looks like to me that this part over here needs to be, this pencil over here needs a little more blending solution. It's not nearly as well blended as this over here. That's a smooth blend and this is not. You can tell that the paper is requiring more solution over here to really get rid of all of that wax. If you have the little white spots where your colored pencil are, that's an indication that your pencil color is not being pushed into the tooth of the paper completely. And so you might want to try a blending solution. If you're using a blending solution and you still have that, then that's a sign you probably need to use a better saturated tortillon in order to get that blend. Particularly if you're working on hot press watercolor paper or on original Zentangle tiles, which is basically the same thing, you're going to need a whole lot more solution than you would, say, if you were using a different type of paper that was not as porous. Sometimes I dip my tortillon each and every time I go to a different section. And you can usually tell by the color gradient how you're doing with that. This is a beautiful, perfect blend for this. Proud of this one, turned out well. Okay, well, I'm not going to despair on this. I think that my finishing touches are going to be really effective. I am going to, let's see, I'm going to now take my white Prismacolor, something that you should have in your toolkit whether or not you use a Prismacolor pencil. These are, because of these situations, these are highly opaque, and I don't blend these when I use them in this way because I want the waxy shine to be there. If I take that off, I lose some of that white intensity. See there? And we've almost completely left out our green here, just by adding the color, yeah? Now, I could use a different color I could use a color gradient on these tips, but I like the white because it draws the eye. It's very dynamic. So I like that. That's going to be much nicer with white. looking pretty good. See, that made a big difference, a really big difference. And now the next thing I'm going to do is going to make a big difference too, if I can find it. I don't know how effective this is going to be. This is my 05. It's teeny tiny. It's really teeny tiny, isn't it? And see, now I'm in the color. If you have trouble with your gel pen, try tapping it down and then rounding the ink that comes out. Now, they don't always tap, but if they have ink in them, usually that will work. What you don't want to do is have a heavy hand, because especially in these situations, you'll see that the white jelly roll is picking up the pigment of the purple here. And that's because I actually rubbed around there. So I'm going to go back through here in a minute. If you just tap on it, Cindy, and then leave it alone, it'll be fine. Well, not as effective as if I had my Jelly Roll 10, but you get the idea, right? Now, I can put 2 more rows over here, or I can leave this as is. I will be absolutely doing more shading with this, probably around the sides of this element as well as within the element. But, and I may, if I can find my Jelly Roll 10, I may add highlights. Along my vine. Again, if I can get my Jelly Roll to work, that might bring that out a little bit. So I still have things I'd like to work on this to really make it dynamic, and I may redraw this vine line with darker ink. I just don't know yet. So let me know what you guys have decided to do on this. Let me know if you like this or not. And I will see you guys tomorrow for day 58. Don't forget, if you've missed any videos, you can check out the playlist for the 100 Days of Zentangle 2020 right here, or you can check out this video.